Now, what special role did women play during Onam at the ashram? Jagadevi's women played a central role. They prepared pukalams, performed Tiruvatira dance, cooked delicacies, and led bhajans. Gurudev highlighted the importance of Devi energy in festivals, connecting Onam to the worship of prosperity and nurturing qualities. Women devotees from Kerala explained traditions to international guests, bridging cultures. Mothers cooked, daughters danced, and grandmothers narrated stories of Mahabali, creating continuity across generations. Their grace and devotion made the celebrations complete. In the Vedic perspective, this represented Shakti in action, preserving culture, spreading joy, and embodying the divine feminine essence of the festival. Now, how were the evenings transformed through Ayappa bhajans? The evenings carried a profound vibration when Ayappa bhajans began. Devotees closed their eyes and swayed as Swami Sharanam Ayappa filled the air. Many said they felt as if they were standing at Sabarimala itself. Gurudev explained Ayappa represents discipline, celibacy, and protection of Dharma. Singing his name invoked strength and surrender simultaneously. Tears rolled as people remembered their pilgrimages. Some even remembered their pilgrimages, and in Kerala also the bhajans weren't just songs, they were calls from the heart. Those nights of Onam at the ashram will be remembered for the power of Ayappa's presence through sound. Now, what impact did Onam have on younger volunteers and yuvacharyas? For younger volunteers, Onam was a live classroom of culture and seva. They learned to serve, organize, and perform with devotion. Many yuvacharyas led teams in cooking, decoration, and managing large crowds. Gurudev encouraged them, saying leadership grows when rooted in service. They also discovered Kerala's traditions, learning dances, songs, and stories from elders. This experience broadened their perspective. They realized festivals are not just about enjoyment but about preserving Dharma and serving humanity. For many, Onam became a turning point, inspiring them to carry forward the cultural wisdom with a youthful energy. Now, how did Gurudev connect Onam to the art of living practices? Gurudev beautifully linked Onam to our practices. He said Sudarshan Kriya brings abundance by cleansing the mind, just as Pukalams beautify the environment. Meditation deepens humility like Mahabali's surrender. Seva reflects the sharing spirit of Onam Sadhya. Padma Sadhana brings balance like the harmony of 25 dishes on the banana leaf. Guru Puja connects us to the lineage, just as Onam connects us to the tradition. Gurudev showed that Onam is not only cultural but also spiritual, and art of living practices help us embody its essence daily. This connection gave Onam universal relevance. Now, how did the ashram balance joy and discipline during Onam? The celebrations were joyous, yet the discipline remained intact. Timings for satsang, seva, and meals were maintained. Devotees danced and sang, but also meditated deeply. Gurudev reminded everyone that true joy comes from centeredness, not chaos. Even in the festive atmosphere, silence hours were observed by some groups. The Annapurna kitchen managed thousands of meals without disorder. This blend of joy and discipline reflected the Vedic way, celebrating with full enthusiasm while maintaining dharmic order. It showed the world that festivals can be both exuberant and spiritually elevating without losing balance. Now, were any stories of Sabarimala Ayappa pilgrimage discussed? Yes, many devotees shared their experiences of the Sabarimala pilgrimage. They spoke about the 41-day vratam of discipline, simplicity, and chanting Swamiye Sharanam Ayappa. They explained how the pilgrimage represents humility and equality, everyone dressed alike, regardless of caste or status. Gurudev connected these stories to Onam, saying both teach surrender and devotion. International devotees were deeply moved, learning about the unique pilgrimage of Kerala. These discussions brought tears to many eyes as people realized the depth of bhakti and tapasya woven into Kerala's traditions and how they enriched the Onam spirit. Now, how did food serve as both cultural and spiritual expression? Food during Onam was more than nourishment, it was devotion in tangible form. Jagadev, so how did the food serve as both cultural and spiritual expression? Yes, Jagadev, food during Onam was more than nourishment, it was devotion in tangible form. The 25 dishes symbolized life's variety, while serving on banana leaves reflected purity and eco consciousness. Volunteers prepared the food, chanting mantras, turning it into prasad, eating together erased distinctions. Everyone sat side by side, symbolizing unity. Gurudev explained that when food is prepared with devotion, it nourishes not just the body but the soul. The sadhya was thus both a cultural highlight and a spiritual practice. Embodying generosity, equality, and gratitude, it reminded all that Annadan is the highest dharma. Now, how did Gurudev bless the devotees during Onam? Gurudev blessed devotees not just with words but with his presence. He walked among the rangolis, smiled at children, and tasted the Onam sadhya, appreciating the love behind each dish. During satsang, he blessed everyone with a vision of unity and abundance. Many devotees shared that when Gurudev looked at them, they felt as if Mahabali himself had entered their homes. His message was simple: live a life with generosity and joy. The blessing was not ritualistic, it was experiential. Everyone left with hearts full and tears of gratitude, carrying Onam's spirit home. Now, what was the highlight of the Onam Sadhya for devotees? For many devotees, it wasn't just the taste but the emotion behind the food. Every dish carried a story. Avial represented balance and sambar harmony, payasam sweetness of life. Devotees said eating on banana leaves together felt like reliving Kerala's authentic tradition. Even those from abroad felt it was a once in a lifetime experience. The sansan ensured purity in preparation. Chanting mantras during cooking, Gurudev reminded everyone that annam or food is Brahman and sharing it is the highest form of worship. Thus, the sadhya became the centerpiece of devotion, culture, and community unity. Now, how did the festival strengthen bonds among devotees? Onam united people from every corner: Kerala villagers, international guests, IT professionals, and ashram volunteers. Cooking, decorating, and serving together dissolved barriers. Devotees said they made lifelong friendships while preparing pukalams or serving banana leaf meals. Gurudev emphasized that community is built through shared joy and seva or selfless service. The festival created a sense of family where everyone felt they belonged. Laughter, tears, and prayers were wove hearts together. This bonding reflected Mahabali's kingdom where equality and harmony thrived. Onam at the ashram became a living example of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world as one family. Now, how are rituals explained to non Indian devotees? We explain rituals step by step, linking them to universal values. For example, Pukalams were described as symbols of creating beauty in life, banana leaf meals as eco conscious gratitude, and bhajans as meditative chanting. Gurudev ensured every ritual was inclusive so no one felt like an outsider. Non Indians eagerly joined, making rangolis, singing, and even eating with their hands. They said rituals gave them experiential understanding of Indian culture beyond textbooks. The Sansansa's role was to translate symbolic practices into simple explanations, showing that dharma is not about nationality but universal human values. Now, how did the celebrations reflect Mahabali's values? Mahabali's rule was remembered for equality, generosity, and joy. These values came alive at the ashram. Everyone, rich or poor, Indian or foreigner, of whatever caste, ate the same sadhya, sat on the floor, and sang together. Seva teams worked without hierarchy, reflecting equality. The abundance of food and decorations represented generosity. The joyful dances and bhajans carried Mahabali's spirit of celebration. Gurudev reminded us that Mahabali lives not in stories but in values we practice daily. Onam was not about the past but about manifesting Mahabali's golden rule in today's world through love and humility. Now, did Gurudev share any meditation insights during Onam? Yes, Gurudev guided a special short meditation during satsang. He asked everyone to visualize Mahabali bowing to Vamana and to experience the humility in surrender. He also joked about the umbrella on top of Vamana and how, when it was raining during the satsang, it mirrored the same message. He reminded us that meditation is like Mahabali's third step, surrendering the ego. Devotees said the silence after this meditation was profound, filled with divine presence. For many, tears flowed as they felt connected to ancient traditions through inner stillness. Gurudev emphasized that true celebration is when the mind rests in peace. This meditation transformed Onam from an outer festivity into an inner spiritual experience of timeless dharma. Now, how did devotees from Kerala feel celebrating Onam at the ashram? Kerala devotees were overwhelmed. They said that the ashram felt like an extension of their homes. Preparing sadhya, performing dances, and singing bhajans with the Gurudev's presence gave them immense pride. Many shared that they never imagined Onam could be celebrated at such a grand spiritual scale outside Kerala. Some cried while narrating Sabarimala stories, grateful that their traditions were honored globally. For them, the ashram became both Sabarimala and Mahabali's palace. They expressed that celebrating Onam with Gurudev gave a new meaning, blending tradition with universal spirituality. It was deeply emotional and fulfilling. Now, were there any special discourses on Dharma during Onam? Yes, discourses focus on dharma as lived through Mahabali and Ayappa. Gurudev explained that dharma is not rigid rules but living values like humility, generosity, and service. The Sansthan officers narrated how Vamanas's blessing to Mahabali shows that true greatness comes from surrendering ego. Ayappa's tapasya represents discipline in dharma. These teachings were made relevant for modern life, practicing honesty, sharing resources, and serving society. Devotees said that these discourses gave Onam depth, reminding them that festivals are not just celebrations, but opportunities to reflect on and strengthen dharmic living. Now, how did Onam highlight India's cultural diversity at the ashram? Onam showcased how diverse India is, yet how united. While it is Kerala's festival, devotees from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, North India, and even abroad participated equally. Each brought their cultural flavors, blending them with Onam traditions. Gurudev emphasized that diversity is India's strength and festivals unite us. For example, international devotees added their folk dances while North Indians helped decorate. The result was a celebration where boundaries dissolved. Onam at the ashram proved that Indian culture is not regional but universal, capable of embracing everyone in its joyous and spiritual fold. Now, what role did stories of Vamana play in the celebrations? Vamana's story was central. We narrated how Vishnu, as a small Brahmin boy, asked Mahabali for 3 steps of land. When 2 steps covered heaven and earth, Mahabali humbly offered his head. This surrender made him immortal. Gurudev explained that Vamana represents the infinite divine in small forms. Just as Vamana grew to cosmic size, divine grace expands when we surrender. The story was retold in bhajans, dances, and discourses. Devotees saw it not as myth but as a reminder. True greatness comes not from possessions but from surrendering to the divine. Now, how did the ashram ensure inclusivity for all age groups? The celebrations had something for everyone. Children decorated pukalams, youth performed dances, elders narrated stories, and all joined the sadhya and satsangs. Gurudev ensured each age group felt included. For children, stories were simplified. For elders, deep discourses were offered. International devotees received cultural orientation. The inclusivity made people feel at home regardless of background. Onam became a multi generational celebration where wisdom was passed down joyfully. Devotees said that they felt like a family spanning ages, nations, and traditions. This inclusivity reflected Gurudev's vision. Festivals are for uniting, not dividing. Now, how was Onam connected to seva or selfless service beyond the ashram? Onam Seva extended to nearby villages, leftover sadhya food was distributed, and special kits with rice and groceries were given to needy families. Medical camps and satsangs were organized, spreading Onam's joy beyond the ashram. Gurudev reminded us that festivals should not stop at celebration, they must inspire service. This outreach made devotees feel the festival's impact went beyond personal joy into social contribution. The Sansthan coordinated these activities, ensuring dharma of sharing was fulfilled. Thus, Onam became a festival not just of abundance in the ashram but also of compassion in society. Now, what did Gurudev say about the true meaning of abundance? Gurudev said that true abundance is not in material wealth but in inner fulfillment. Mahabali was remembered not for riches but for his humility and generosity. Abundance comes when we feel content and share with others. He emphasized that Onam's 25 dishes represent life's variety, but the real feast is when the mind is free from greed. Abundance means smiling more, serving more, and loving more. Devotees said these words changed their view of prosperity from accumulation to sharing. Gurudev's teaching made Onam not just about outer grandeur but inner richness. How did evening lamps add to the festival atmosphere? Lighting lamps in the evening transformed the ashram. Thousands of diyas lined the pathways, halls, and rangolis. The flickering flames symbolized Mahabali's eternal light of Dharma. Gurudev said each lamp represents the removal of darkness from our lives. Devotees held lamps during bhajans, creating an ocean of light that brought goosebumps. For many, it was the most memorable sight of Onam. The Sansan coordinated lamp arrangements with precision, ensuring beauty and safety. The lamps united everyone in silence, meditation, and devotion, symbolizing inner awakening amidst outer celebration. Now, how did international media and visitors perceive the celebration? Jai Gurudev, yes, many international visitors said that they had never seen such a holistic celebration. They appreciated that Onam wasn't just cultural but deeply spiritual at the ashram. Media covered a grand sadhya, colorful dances, and Gurudev's discourses, showing how tradition can blend with modernity. Visitors felt it was more inclusive than any festival they had attended, where spirituality, sustainability, culture, and joy coexisted. They were amazed that thousands could eat together harmoniously. Some even called it a living university of Indian culture. For them, Onam at the ashram was both education and transformation. Now, how did Onam strengthen the global art of living community? Onam became a unifying thread across continents. Devotees from USA, Europe, and Asia participated online or physically. They shared pictures of their local pukalams and sadhyas inspired by the ashram's celebrations. Gurudev reminded that festivals are not limited by geography but are global celebrations of values. The Sansthan ensured live streams of bhajans and satsangs so the global family felt included. This year, Onam became not just Kerala's or India's festival, but the world's. It showed that dharma and joy can transcend boundaries when lived through Gurudev's vision of one global family. Now, were any ancient scriptures quoted during Onam discourses? Yes, Gurudev and Sansthan officers quoted Bhagavatam for Vamana's story, Atharveda for abundance prayers, and Aditya Hridayam for light symbolism. Ayappa's significance was explained through Tamil and Malayalam devotional texts. Gurudev beautifully connected these scriptures to present day life. For example, verses on humility from the Upanishads were linked to Mahabali's surrender. Devotees were moved to see how ancient wisdom is not outdated but alive in celebrations like Onam. Scriptures gave depth, reminding everyone that festivals are rooted in eternal truths, not just a seasonal joy. It was a learning wrapped in devotion. Now, what lessons did devotees take home from this Onam? Devotees carried home lessons of humility, sharing, and devotion. They realized Onam is not only about Kerala but about living Dharma daily. Many said they would serve food to the needy, practice humility in relationships, and celebrate life with gratitude. International devotees promised to start Rangoli and banana leaf meals at their centers. Children learned teamwork and storytelling. Elders felt renewed joy. The overall lesson was clear. Onam is a reminder to live like Mahabali, serve like Ayappa, and celebrate with Gurudev's grace. These values became the real takeaway beyond the festivities. Now, how did Onam at the ashram inspire future festivals? This Onam set a benchmark for future celebrations. Devotees realized festivals can be both traditional and global, cultural and spiritual. Gurudev inspired the idea that every festival, whether Diwali, Navratri, Shivratri, or Pongal or Onam, can be celebrated with equal devotion and inclusivity. The model of seva, sustainability, and satsang will guide future events. International devotees requested similar celebrations in their countries. Thus, Onam became not just an annual Kerala festival but a template for universal celebration of dharma, joy, and unity. The future will see more such festivals expanding in scale and inclusivity. Now, what was the essence of Onam with the Gurudev this year? The essence was unity in diversity, abundance in humility, and joy in devotion. With Gurudev, Onam was not just Kerala's festival but a global spiritual event. From the sadhya to bhajans, pukalams to satsangs, everything reflected dharma and love. Gurudev's teachings turned folklore into living wisdom. Devotees left feeling Mahabali's presence, Ayappa's strength, and Vishnu's grace alive within them. The ashram radiated the golden age Mahabali once ruled. Onam this year was not only celebrated, it was lived with Gurudev's blessings, making it eternal in the hearts of thousands. Jai Gurudev.